Good morning, Husker fans, and welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Danny Gillette, and we're back for another episode of the podcast here on this Monday morning, following a heartbreaking loss for the Huskers on Saturday against Ohio State. But there's a lot of positive things to take out of that matchup, so we're going to cover what happened on Saturday. We're going to talk about the fallout from there. We're going to look ahead a little bit to UCLA, talk about some recruiting news with Chase Loftin. Before we do that, please make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, get into the comments section. And Danny, how are you doing on this fine Monday morning?
I'm doing good. My Patriots beat Aaron Rodgers, so that's always a good thing. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers, and my Huskers gave it their all, but unfortunately they came up short.
Yeah, I do. I have to say I did get some joy out of the old Aaron Rodgers losing to the Patriots. That was nice because my Packers went to 6-2 while his Jets fell to 2-6. And I hate to tell you, New York fans, but I told you so. But at any rate, it was I have to say it was a gut punch on Saturday because as a Michigan guy, I definitely hate Ohio State, and it would have been sweet to see the Huskers, pull off that upset. I think I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. I have to double check it, but I don't think that Ryan Day has lost a Big Ten game outside of Michigan. Like, I think those 3 losses to Michigan are it. I don't think maybe he's lost one other Big Ten game, but like
Oregon?
Nebraska. Oh, right, duh. But I mean, I guess before this season.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah.
And so it's like, but they're ranked number 1. And so, like, you think about it, I mean, Ryan Day's never lost, unless I'm wrong. I'd have to double check. And maybe, like, I know Ohio State lost to Purdue and Iowa like a couple times, but I think that was still when Urban was the head coach. So I don't know that he's lost a game to like a non-ranked team. Like that was almost a huge upset. And I know, and the thing that I'm sitting here thinking about, that I've been thinking about, is it's not like Nebraska pitched a perfect game. It's not like they went out there and played mistake-free football for 4 quarters. I mean, they made mistakes from the opening kickoff, stepping out of bounds or whatever happened there. I mean, you had the 4th and 1, Thomas Fedoni gets a false start, and we have to kick a field goal instead of going for it, which, maybe we would have got. There was like the weird spot play. Like, why didn't Nebraska challenge that? And then like that, I don't know why that wasn't reviewed or challenged, but there was just a lot of, Dylan Raiola misses the wide open touchdown to Ja'Cory Barney, which ends up on a punt.
Actually missed wide open touchdowns.
Okay, so I'm missing. So I forgot. I must have left one into my memory bank there, but so yeah, it's not like Nebraska like played a perfect game and Ohio State just pulled it out at the end because they were the better team. Nebraska really had a lot of mistakes. Running backs missing wide open. I mean, Nebraska could have won this game by 2 touchdowns. Honestly, they could have won this game by 2 touchdowns if Dante Dowdell breaks a tackle, if Emmett Johnson sees some lanes, if Dylan Raiola hits these touchdowns, if they can execute. If we don't call back-to-back screens on our first scoring opportunity, on 2nd and 3rd down. So I guess that's it's disappointing, but it's also encouraging because, this team didn't go out there and pitch a perfect game, and they almost beat what many people have said is the most, I'm not saying the best team, but the most talented team in college football. So I don't know. I thought it was a step in the right direction. You still have to push that forward, right? Like, I think about Charlie Weiss when he was at Notre Dame. Like, the best thing he did was almost beat USC. I don't want Matt Rule's best moment at Nebraska to be almost a win over Ohio State. So we got to get this thing ramped up. But I do think that there was a lot of progress and a lot of things I think that the Huskers can build on going into these last 4 games.
They weren't prepared for Indiana, and I don't think many in the country knew how good Indiana was. They were prepared for Ohio State, and I think, people wanted to criticize Marcus Satterfield, and I agree the screen calls drove me crazy, but I'll raise you this. You call a screenplay, your wide receiver's got to block. I mean, granted, the Ohio State was able to sniff out the screenplay, but you gotta be able to block if you're running that type of screenplay. And on the running lanes and the running back part of it and the running plays, there were wide open holes. I saw them on the TV, and Dowdell and Johnson just absolutely missed them. So I know people want to blame Marcus Satterfield for Saturday's loss, and I get he's an easy target and stuff, but I really don't think Saturday was his fault. I thought he called a decent game.
I thought he did too. Yeah, like I was listening on the radio a lot too, and like Damon Benning was just losing his mind. Like not like criticizing, but he's just like, man, there's wide open lanes every time.
Our running backs have like zero vision. They have like Helen Keller eyes. Like, come on now.
What I've come to realize, I wrote this in my 5 things I learned from this game, is that Nebraska needs in this transfer portal, they have got to find a running back because they don't have one. they don't have like a big time running back. I mean,
Yeah.
Dante Dowdell is fine. He'll be okay. He's only a sophomore, but like they need to go find 1,000-yard rusher in the portal. Like, I do not care. Go get a dude who can catch the ball, who can make guys miss, who can see some bit. Like, there's guys out there. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, that's got to be a priority because the running back room is just not good enough. And to me, I feel like finding a really good running back, it's going to be easier than, you know, the kind of receiver that we'll need for Dylan. So put that on the D line, O line, running back. This team has got to get, like, I mean, just imagine if you had, if Nebraska had one of the Ohio State running backs, like they would have won this game easily. I mean, and I know those guys they got shut down, but that's because they had nowhere to go. Nebraska's defensive line just owned the line of scrimmage. And you're right, looking back at the Indiana game, Nebraska clearly overlooked Indiana. They were overconfident. They thought they were going to push Indiana around. And so that's kind of disappointing because if Nebraska plays like they did on Saturday, like the team I saw on Saturday is the team I thought we were going to see against Indiana.
They could win out if they played like they did on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, like my takeaway is this team can play with any team in the country because Ohio State just they should have beat the number one team, Oregon. Like they just screwed up. They screwed up at the end of that game because Ryan Day isn't a very good head coach. I mean, at the end of the day, he is a good head coach, but he's really bad at managing in-game situations. Like he doesn't know when to go for it on fourth down. He just makes these really weird decisions because he feels so much pressure. But at any rate, and if Will Howard just gets down, yeah. But if Will Howard just gets down, you know, they probably beat Oregon, and we're talking about almost beating the number. So I mean, Nebraska played the number one team essentially in the country, in my opinion. I mean, Oregon's right there, whatever, but Ohio State's as good as anybody. So if you can do that against Ohio State, like Nebraska can win out, but you still have to do it. You know, like they did this against Michigan State and Michigan in 2021, and then after they almost beat Michigan, they went and laid an egg in Minnesota, and then people lost their minds because that was the game where I think Adrian Martinez, they got stuffed inside the 5-yard line a number of times. And so it all, like I agree with what Matt Rule said. I was proud of this team.
Yeah.
Nebraska is not about moral victories. Nebraska is there to win games. That's what this program needs to be. But at the same time, I do think that there's, somewhat of a moral victory you can take from Saturday, at least knowing that this team, and not only I think did they battle, but the thing that impressed me the most, it's not like they came out and got a lead and then they blew it late. They did blow a lead late, but they fell down 14-3 inside the horseshoe against the toughest team in college football and
it's not an easy task for anybody. Yeah,
and the toughest stadium to win in college football. That is the toughest stadium to win in college football. I don't care what anybody says. There is no place tougher to win than Ohio State University. None. I mean, so Nebraska went into the toughest stadium in college football against one of the toughest teams in college football. They got down by 11 points, and they still battled back and nearly won that game. How many times have we seen this team fall behind and just wilt? And this time they didn't do that, and that was the most impressive thing to me. I don't know, what the most impressive thing for you was or other takeaways that you had, but I just thought that the way that they just refused to go down and battle, and the defense was incredible. But it was a positive thing. But you got to win. You got to win the game. So if they can turn that into a 4-0 stretch or a 3-0, 2-2, whatever, then I think we'll look back at this game as a turning point. But it's only if they can complete that second part of it.
And look, I understand the box score statistics. Carnell Tate, 4 catches, 102 yards. Jeremiah Smith, 3 catches for 70 yards. Both had touchdowns. But I was impressed with the way the secondary came out and played them. I really was. Because, aside from, those 2 deep passes, I thought the secondary did a decent job against those receivers. And I'm not upset at giving up touchdowns to those 2. I mean, those 2 receivers are some of the best in the country. So I thought the secondary did a decent job, all things considered. I thought Tate and Smith were going to run circles on the Nebraska secondary coming into this week, and I think they did a decent job covering them.
Yeah, and Tommy Hill wasn't even in the game, so I mean, they did a great job. I thought the pass rush did a great job, and Tony White, man, for as poorly as things looked against Indiana, like he definitely redeemed himself, in this game, and that's the kind of game that you can put on your resume. Like, hey, I went to Columbus, Ohio, and I held that team to 21 points because that was amazing. Really, like anything under 30, I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe they can hold them under 30. I predicted 38 points, and so I mean, to score 21, was incredible. The fact that the offense, didn't have a turnover until late, I thought was really impressive. And that shows what
Yeah.
happens if you can run the football and if you can take care of it. And I do, with Satterfield, I agree that I thought Satterfield called a good game, but yeah, fire those screen plays into the sun. My God, just take every single screenplay in the playbook and flush it down the toilet. Like, I understand like what you're saying about like the guys got to execute it and it is on them, but like at the same time, if you're calling the same plays over and over again that don't work, like that's on you at some point. Like at some point you got to know like, hey, my cornerback cannot function in man coverage. Like he just can't do it. So I got to play zone coverage. Like you got to understand your personnel, and for whatever reason, I don't know why this team just does not run the screens very well. So I think Dylan Raiola ended up with with sacks or something. He averaged like 3 or 4 yards per pass attempt. Like that's really bad. You should be like anything below 7 isn't great. And his numbers have been pretty low recently. It's like, let the guy take a chance sometimes. I would like to see him, he does have the talent. I realize he's a freshman, but there was just a few times there where it was like, I would like to at least see him, you know, throw the ball down the field, because when they let him, like when they opened up the offense a little bit and they went a little more hurry up, like he did get some confidence in the third quarter and the second quarter. So I don't know. It's like, I get where you're at, but you're also, you had nothing to lose. So I don't see why they didn't let it hang out a little bit more with the quarterback.
I don't know. He had 2 opportunities to do that, and he missed them both. So, if he makes those 2 passes, if he completes those 2 passes, it's a different game. So I definitely get where you're coming from, though. I feel like they should have opened up the offense a little bit, but I feel like these receivers can't get separation. It's a major issue, and
Well, it
and
doesn't
I
help
get.
when they're held and the refs don't call it, but I
Yeah,
digress.
that is also very true. When they literally grab his jersey, and everybody can see it on replay, but apparently the refs can't. And anyway, and I understand, the screen passes were frustrating, but at the same time I get them, because he had to, Riley had to get the ball out quick. The defensive line, that's a very good defensive line, and I thought Nebraska did okay in terms of blocking, but I understood that he wanted to get the ball out quick and try to take advantage of kind of the overzealous defensive line. And if he makes those 2 throws, we're talking about a different game. I thought the play design, for example, on the 2-point conversion was absolutely brilliant, and it faked out the cameraman, it faked me out, and I thought it was a great play call. So I thought Satterfield did okay in the red zone, and I thought he did okay in this game. I don't think he was the issue. Again, that's the number 4 team in the country. But as far as games are concerned, if I had to pick Satterfield's worst games of the season, this one definitely wasn't it.
Yeah, no, definitely not it. And yeah, they needed to do something with the strings. I don't know, figure out how to make those work. I'm not sure why, they have such a problem with that. And the other thing is, the red zone has been an issue all season. And sometimes that's going to happen with a young quarterback. That's just part of the deal. But they got to get better in that area over the last month of the season. So,
they got to figure out the receivers. Honestly, they have to figure out the receivers and how to get separation, how to block, like that whole entire unit. They just need to figure out how to play better, and they're not doing it right now. And I go back to what Joel Klatt said the other day about, Dylan Raiola needs another weapon or an outside receiver to really kind of benefit him. And I thought, oh, no, they have Jamal Banks, they have Isaiah Neyor, they'll be fine. Well, I'm starting to rethink that. I really do think they need a playmaking weapon, and to get one in the offseason, because, there's just nothing there right now.
Yeah, they need to develop the talent that they have in-house, for one thing. They like Carter Nelson has got to be a stud. Like there's just no, and he should be. The dude has every tool in the toolkit to be, and he's playing receiver. So like Carter Nelson next year has got to produce like 30 to 40 catches. Like that's just, if this coaching staff cannot get him to that point, then there is a problem with this coaching staff. And I'm looking at you, Garrett McGuire, because Malachi Coleman's development has been a disappointment. I don't care if there's injury, like this coaching staff has not done a good job with him. And, you can say the same about Jalen Lloyd. Like, where has he gone this year? He has totally disappeared from this lineup. He's out there, but he's not making plays. And I really expected him to, be a pretty big contributor this year. So that's been surprising. And then, Isaiah Neyor the dude cannot catch the freaking ball. I don't know what to say, but every time it seems like he has, a chance to make a big play for his quarterback, he drops the damn ball. And he was held on that play, but the ball was in his hands. Like going down to the ground, you got to finish the play. If he finishes the play against Illinois, we're sitting here going to a bowl game already. And if he catches that pass, maybe this team gets a lead early in the game. Like, it's just, that's really frustrating for Dylan Raiola to drop a dime in there over a defender and to have him drop it. It's just, yeah, it is kind of disappointing, but
I don't fault them for the Ohio State play that you're talking about. I do fault them for the Illinois play because the Ohio State play. This is the other thing. He got held. He held badly, and the officiating was horrible the entire game. And I hate to say this every week. It sounds like we're complaining, but Saturday was just another poor display of officiating, and it's across all sports. It's not just football, and it's not just Nebraska. Big Ten officiating is horrible.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this was really. It made me seriously wonder if like these guys had money on Ohio State, because that spot of where the guy Emmett Johnson was literally 2 yards past the spot, that was the worst spot in the history of college football. And
I remember you tweeted. So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't. I missed the spot, so I didn't see it live, so that's why I was like wondering what the hell was happening.
Yeah, I think like they thought it was a first down too, so they had to like they had a certain package in there, and then they took the package out once they realized it wasn't a first down. And I think that's like because
but why don't you challenge that? Like, it's rule should have challenged, but at any rate.
Not that they would have changed it with these
probably not, because that's a bad big. They'd be like, oh, clear, not enough clear evidence. They would have came back and said that, or the forward progress or something. But like both of the pass interference calls on Nebraska were totally bogus. They did not do a thing. They did not touch him. I mean, like Jamal Banks literally didn't touch the guy, and they called him for offensive pass interference. So it's like twice on that last drive before the half, the officials screwed Nebraska out of a legitimate chance to score a touchdown, because they screwed us out of at least 4 or 5 plays and 15 yards. And then I can't remember if it was on the interception to Raiola, but one of those plays on the last drive, Ja'Cory Barney was just held like a mother. I mean, literally the jersey was like this. And it's like, dude, and I mean, they call every ticky-tack foul against Ohio State. And
Jamari Butler was dragged down. Now I think about it.
Yeah, for a hold right in front of the official and not called. And then on top of it, why did Ryan Day not get a flag on that after that targeting review? That was 100%.
He ran out on the field.
He was out on the field in front of the ref. If that's any other, if that was Matt Rule, he would have got flagged.
Matt Rule got flagged for a lot less.
Yeah, for a lot less, a hell of a lot less. Jim Harbaugh's been flagged for a hell of a lot less. So what in the F is the Big Ten? What the hell is going on in the Big Ten offices that they are so cuddly with Ohio State? Because something's happening. Like, something weird is going on, and
it's absolutely ridiculous. And and it's not just a blind fandom. Oh, ref, he missed a call and this sucks. And it impacted the game. 100%. It impacted the game, like you said. That horrible spot, it cost us 4 or 5 plays. The offensive pass interference that clearly wasn't. I mean, we would have been golden in the red zone. Well, not gold maybe with this offense, but we would have, in theory, been golden with in the red zone. So I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. And just wait till basketball season.
Yeah, it's the Big Ten, and that's the thing, is almost every fan base says this. So I don't know. The Big Ten has a real problem. I mean, it's worse than the NFL, and that's pretty freaking bad. So at any rate, before
I will say, hold on.
Yeah,
sorry. I will say I have to give a shout out. We talk about developing in-house talent. John Hull stepped up big on Saturday.
Yeah, he was big. That's, he made that second field goal. I was like, okay, we got a shot here. So hopefully, we talk about, kicking and the yips and stuff. Hopefully this will be a positive, and he'll be able to carry that confidence going forward. Because, man, you can he tied the longest road field goal in the history of Nebraska football. John Hull with that 54-yarder. Yeah, that was good from like 60. And Joel Klatt's like, I don't know, I saw him making it from like the 30, and then he goes out there and drills a 54-yarder. So that was pretty sweet.
In Joel Klatt's defense, I coming into the game, I wasn't too comfy with the field goal operation either. But
but that's like I don't know where he got that extra leg from. Is what I'm. So that was impressive. I guess the adrenaline. So we've talked about this a lot. Now the UCLA game. How important is this game for the Huskers? How badly do they need to win this game? Because they need to get to 6 wins. And I feel like, you have this positive momentum. You have to carry it forward with the win this week. So how important is this game for Nebraska football? And what are kind of some of your early thoughts on it?
It's really important. If they can play like they have on Saturday, then these next 3 games, lessen in terms of importance, in that UCLA is a must win. I thought after Indiana, UCLA was a must win because that was a give me on the schedule or an easier game than what we had ahead. But, coming off of Saturday's game, if they play like they did in that one, I feel confident in the next four. But I still think this one's important to just exercise the demons to get that sixth win, and to continue that championship mentality that Matt Rule talked about in his post-game press conference. And, I honestly think that Saturday's game, could be a turning point in the season. I really saw something special with the program, and I know it wasn't a victory, but if they can carry that same effort into UCLA, then I feel confident in Saturday's game. I do think Saturday's game is important, but I definitely feel like we can get the sixth win on the schedule at the very least, and maybe even more with the remaining games that we have.
Yeah, I agree 100% in the fact that I think Nebraska could go 4-0. I think they could go 0-4. That's just, I haven't quite seen enough to say that they can't do that. So I do think, and I've been saying this, but I think this is the most important stretch of Matt Rule's career at Nebraska. And I think now all he's got to do is win one game, 1-3. That's not hard, but I think they'll win more than that. I honestly do. And in my prediction, I said 9-3 at the start of the year. I'm like, maybe there's still an outside chance that could happen. 8 wins, 7 wins. But yeah, this game I think is the UCLA game. I think can be a turn, or the Ohio State game can be a turning point if they can kind of build that momentum forward. And like if they could come out and kick UCLA's butt by like 17 points or something, and not just like squeak by or luck by. Like, I mean, I know whatever it takes to get win number 6, but I want to see this team kick some ass on Saturday. You know what I mean? Like I want to see this defense with that same energy. I want to see him run the ball down the throat of the Bruins. Like I just want to see a dominating effort, and like I just want to see an emphatic like, bam, we got our 6 wins. Now let's go see what we can do. And I think if they get that, they're going to have a lot of momentum going into this offseason. And I think all of us fans can stop freaking out about this bold streak and like, stop being so, what's the word? Like,
pessimistic.
Yeah, pessimistic. I had another one, but like, so, you know what I mean? Like always going to like the worst possible scenario. And I think that would heal a lot of wounds. And then if you go into this transfer portal, you got to get some D linemen because you're losing your 2 best ones. You got to get some help on the O-line, find a receiver, find a running back that can do some things, and you could really have something next year. I mean, you really could have something next season. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to replace on defense. That does worry me, but you're going to have a young quarterback that's going to be getting a lot better because that's usually when they take that big jump. So if we can build on this momentum, I think, and hell, those 2 weeks of bowl practices would do this team a lot of good.
Yep. And, not that they're going to be ready next year, but there's a lot of promising young talent coming up. So that's something to look forward to on the defensive line. But honestly, and I totally get where you want the thrashing of the Bruins and stuff. I don't care if they win by an extra point. Just get that 6th win. I mean, because if you lose to UCLA, then you can imagine the psyche of the players and Matt Rule. Oh, here we go again. And yes, I know they're supposed to block out the noise and blah blah blah. But as a competitor, you think about those things. You don't want to admit you think about those things, but you think about those things. And I don't care how they win. If they win, off a blocked field goal and they return it, for a touchdown, just get that win. I don't care how it's done. And then once they get that win, then I feel like a weight will be lifted off Matt Rule and the program's shoulders.
I agree with that. And so right now on the early line, the Huskers are a 7.5 point favorite for Saturday. So just we'll be covering UCLA much more in depth later this week, but that's the early line of things. They're
fresh off good for a visitor on Saturday too.
Yeah, fresh off UCLA, fresh off a win. And another thing for Saturday's game is that Chase Loftin, the 4-star tight end ranked, I want to say he's the number 2 tight end. He's 358, I think, in the 24/7 composite rankings, 6'6", 215, been committed to Florida State, but they're falling on the wayside at 1-7. And so now, according to Greg Smith of Rivals, he will be visiting this weekend. So what do you think are the chances that Nebraska flips Chase Loftin?
Very, very good, because I thought they were going to have him in the summer. I thought, that they were going to have him in the summer. I don't think his recruitment was ever officially closed. I do think the downward turn of Florida State definitely helped things a lot. I mean, it's something. Honestly, Florida State lost a lot of pieces, but I don't think anybody saw this level of losing coming to Tallahassee. So,
Yeah.
At the same time, I feel confident in Nebraska's chances to land Loftin, especially with the way the staff can recruit. And then you look at the 2025 class, you have Bear Tenney and potentially Chase Loftin. That's a solid duo right there.
Yeah, I feel like that Chase Loftin knows like what visiting Nebraska means, and so I feel like he wouldn't be making this visit if he wasn't
Right.
going to flip. That's just like, why would you? So maybe like Texas A&M would be a team that could get back into it. I know that he was tight with Colin Klein, who's their OC, and he used to coach his brother at Kansas State. So like I don't know if they'll get back into it or some other schools, but I feel like that Nebraska definitely is the favorite here. And if they get Chase Loftin, that's 9 blue chip commitments in the 2025 class out of 21. So that's above 40%. That's really getting you into, you want to be above 50, you want to be in the 60, 70 range, but you got to walk or you got to crawl before you can walk. And Nebraska is making a lot of progress on the recruiting trail. So, and if you get, if you finish this in 8 or 9 win season, when you win 8 or 9 games next year, then you're going to start signing top 15 classes like nothing. So,
yeah. And even if you get to that bowl game, I mean, that's going to be huge for recruiting and, huge for progress, because then you can point that you made a bowl game, and if you win the bowl game, you get even 7 wins from 7-5 to 5-7. There's an upward trajectory there, and so I know it's not been too talked about yet because we always put a lot of emphasis on the 2024 recruiting class, and rightfully so. I mean, there's a ton of talented players in it, but the 2025 class is looking really strong right now as well.
Yeah, 2 really strong classes, and then hopefully they can build that momentum into 2026, and take some of that, take that NIL money that we gave Dylan last year and put it towards some receivers and running backs. Like we really got to ramp up that the NIL, and with Troy Dannon here, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get more big time players. Like
I was just
I've been
about to
talking about.
say, having an athletic director in his first offseason that likes to fundraise and likes the NIL part of it is going to be important.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to help Nebraska this offseason for sure.
Yeah, because like we got Dylan last year, we were going to spend for like Kyle McCord, but how much money was left over after that is what so it's like, now let's see how much money we have going into this offseason, because there's going to be some needs at key positions and it's going to take some money. So hopefully they can get that done, because they've got the quarterback to build this thing around. If they can add some pieces like a tackle, defensive tackle, wide receiver, running back, I feel like they could be a pretty solid team next year. So
well, it's going to be important to see what they do with Marcus Satterfield in the offseason, because then that will dictate the type of players we can get. I think the Satterfield decision, if there is going to even be one, is going to be important.
Yeah, I'm going to say right now, I think he's gone. Unless this offense really takes off, I think he's going to be gone. But we'll see. He's got a month
Do you think
left.
they
So
hire from within, a la Glenn Thomas, or do you think they go get somebody else?
I think they got to go get somebody.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you got to go pay top dollar. Use that freaking money and go get somebody that for a fact. Like, as I know that my name is Chris Peterson, that can run a college offense. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like, go get a proven dude. Not Marcus Satterfield, who was okay at Baylor. Like, go get somebody and take this offense to the next level. So hopefully we'll see that. Hopefully we will see Nebraska get bowl eligible on Saturday. We'll be back probably on Thursday. I think we'll cover our preview for UCLA. We'll have some predictions, maybe talk a little hoop, since the hoop season is starting up this week. So as always, guys, thanks for coming along. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, enter the comment section. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.